Bang, bang, we're back. It's been a slow week for me, at least. I haven't gotten to do any videos because there's been nothing to talk about. I haven't gotten to hang out with you guys because I was busy and I just got back and now I'm engaged. I'm focused on this college football weekend. And right when I got home, new things came out about Lane Kiffin. Some stuff popped up about PJ Fleck. I saw something about Mark Stoops. It's just hit me in the face all at once. And I can't ask for a better way to run my Friday because all I want to do is talk about this stuff. But what's up, guys? Haven't seen you in a couple days. So hello. Thank you for being here tonight. Happy to talk to guys like Gary who are calling us fools if we are writing for, or no, if you get rid of MJ. All right, Gary. Happy to see that Cornhusker Corner's here. Who else? Chris is here. Jeremy's here. Robert. The same people as usual, which just tells me that you guys are all excited for this every week and that we're not running this in a crappy way, because if it was crappy, you wouldn't be back. So what's up, Cornhusker Corner? We're going to start off with your comment because I got to take comments to start the show. I just want to talk to you guys. I missed you so much. Trev knows his entire Nebraska legacy rests on this decision. This is his one chance, because if you don't get it right that first time, you're gone as an AD. Typically, that's what happens, right? If you don't build the thing up that makes the most money, which is the football program, you're going to get flushed. So you're absolutely right on that statement. You really think he's going with PJ? Row the boat everywhere? That would be cringe. No one person is bigger than Nebraska is what you meant to say. And that's a fact. Let's talk about this PJ rumor real quick, because I already have it pulled up, because that was the one I was looking at and was like, huh, it's bizarre. People are sending me PJ Fleck rumors. Actually, I just closed out of it. Wait, I am back to it. Okay. Here's the rumor about PJ. It comes from Drew P. Johnson, SEC. A close source at the University of Nebraska has informed Minnesota head coach PJ Fleck. It doesn't even make sense what he's saying. It's written like a guy who doesn't actually work with the media. Regardless, you can read all that. I'm not going to because it's a waste of time. It's got 28 retweets, 120 quote tweets, 279 likes, which means there are people in this thread right here that think it's true. I decided to go and click this. I was like, okay, Sin Sports. I typed in Sin Sports on Google. And what came back and what I found out is that guy's a porn star. So it's an obvious troll account. The PJ Fleck rumor that came out today that people were sending me. I'm not kidding you. I had at least 30 people message me. PJ Fleck is rumored to be Nebraska's next coach, or that he's interested in Nebraska, or Nebraska's interested in him. And it all started with this porn star, obviously troll account, saying it. So yeah, PJ Fleck, I don't know, or I don't think would be a real choice. Anything is in the air, and I think that's the point of today, what I wanted to talk to you guys about. When this coach search started, it was 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was September 11th, I think, around then. Trev said, there are going to be a ton of rumors. There are going to be a ton of names. There's going to be a ton of info that comes out, but it's not coming from me. It's not coming from this university, which means it's probably not true. Or it is true, but there are no decisions being made until the final whistle blows. And that's kind of where we're at. Trev is going to do whatever he's got to do to interview, I don't know, 20 people? It could be 20 coaches, 15 maybe, whatever the number is. Trev's going to do whatever he's got to do to lock in those coach interviews over these next, whatever the total is going to be, 60 days, let's say. But he's not going to come to a final decision probably for at least another 3 weeks here, at least. It might take him until around Iowa week to finalize. Keep that in mind. He's probably going to try to reach out to some guys who you wouldn't think would be candidates. Maybe a Hugh Freeze at Liberty, right? That guy is previously at Ole Miss, has some success, but he wants to gauge the waters on every coach. He wants to get ideas from everybody and from everywhere. He could reach out to Urban Meyer. He probably did already reach out to Urban Meyer. There have been so many rumors around that because he wants to get ideas from Urban. Not that he specifically wants Urban, but hey, what do you think? You were a Big Ten successful head coach. What do we do here? So if he's doing that with a bunch of different coaches, we're going to hear names pop up all the time. Just keep it in mind and be happy about it, because you want a coach who, like Corner just said, or not a coach, a guy who runs the program, an athletic director, to go out there and make sure this is the right decision, because his entire career, at Nebraska at least, rides on this hire. Everything for him. He is a failure if he makes the wrong decision. If he brings in what's his name, Mike Riley, that level of a coach, he's gone, just so you know, because then we'll see another 5-7 team or whatever it is. That coach will fail. The guys who are really in charge, which are the boosters and the chancellor, whoever else runs the university, they're going to say, look, we tried it, Trev. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Boot him and bring in an AD who has relationships with another good head football coach. Anyway, the point is, keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of names that we hear, and they're all names that I'm always going to discuss, because I think it's important that we examine and explore all of the opportunities in front of us. Not that I'm not rooting for Mickey. Not that I'm not saying Mickey will do a good job if he was hired. Nothing to disrespect him, right? Because I want to make sure you guys know Mickey is still my number one choice. But it's good and it's fun to get these ideas out as a fan base, just so we know what the hell's going on. Hope that made sense, guys. Depressed Husker fan. What's good, Connor? How do you feel about our chances of getting Malachi Coleman tomorrow? That's a good question. Malachi's coming to Nebraska. Malachi is practically a shoo-in for Nebraska. He didn't take any other visits. He's gone to the last, I think, 4 or 5 Nebraska home games. He loves Mickey Joseph, and it's pretty much certain that Mickey Joseph will be back here next year, whether that's in the head coaching role, associate head coaching role, recruiting role, or a wide receiver coach role is yet to be determined, but we know Mickey's going to be here next year. The only way he's not is if a school like Colorado or some other random school was like, wow, Mickey Joseph can really recruit. Let's pull him over to us. And even though he doesn't have much experience as a head coach, he didn't do that good at Nebraska as the interim head coach, we're going to give him a shot. I think the chances are slim there. So I'm going to say Mickey's going to be back here next year. Malachi will be here next year, and Malachi will commit to Nebraska tomorrow. Am I wrong? I mean, does anyone disagree with me? I just have to assume we're all on the same page here. Ryan says if Mickey had solid assistants he can coach with, I think Mickey makes sense. The kids react well. Imagine if we had a couple of Bill Bush and Mickey's on our team coaching each position the right way. I agree. It's more than just the X's and O's though, right? You've got to manage an entire offseason. You've got to manage all of these interviews and all of the things that go into being a head coach and communicating with boosters. And is Mickey ready to handle all of that? It's yet to be determined. He's done a really good job as an interim, and he's done a really good job from an X and O standpoint. I've talked about it before, and I'll mention it again. This is a CEO position, and we got a guy with pretty much no CEO experience getting thrown into it. Do you want to risk it on him? If you're Trev Alberts, man, putting your balls on the line, Trev's probably going to opt to go for someone who's a little bit more proven. That's my guess. I could be wrong. I want Mickey to be the guy, though. I want Mickey to be the one. I want Mickey to beat Illinois. I want Mickey he can lose to Michigan, but I want him to beat Minnesota. I want him to beat Wisconsin. Leave no doubt. Get us to a bowl game. Trev comes in and says, we're putting it down. It's done. Interim tag is stripped. We're done with all this coach search talk, and Mickey's the guy. I want that to be the case. I don't know if we're there yet. I don't know how soon we'll know, because I think I'm going to talk about all this in the video that I put out this weekend, so I don't want to get too deep into it. I want to give you guys the full breakdown and all the analysis behind it, and I just can't do it right now because I haven't constructed all the thoughts yet. I haven't put them on paper. I want Mickey. We'll talk about what my thoughts are on what it's going to take to keep Mickey in my next video, which I think I'm going to release on Sunday. Just to give you an idea, MJ's brother is about to get some offers for head coaching jobs in the NFL. Robert, the Cardinals' defense hasn't been very good. I think that it's more likely that Vance is going to be out as the defensive coordinator at the Cardinals and looking for a job than it is coaches or NFL teams are going to be looking for him as a head coach. That's my guess. I don't know. Robert says Vance was a horrible head coach in the NFL. That's another thing. Didn't do very well in the Broncos. He's a good DC. Hasn't been a good DC this year. You're only as good as your most recent team. Keep it in mind. Listen, guys, I don't have all the answers, but I'm just telling you what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking, what I'm hearing. And I don't know what the deal is with Vance Joseph, but I wouldn't assume he's going to get a head coaching job in the NFL. Let me scroll back in the comments because I saw some guys saying hi and hello, and I just want to make sure I say what's up to everybody. LSU says everyone or you're a bot and an Iowa fan. That's true. Hit the like button now, otherwise you're a bot or an Iowa fan. It's true. Kev, what's happening? Lucky says Mickey Joseph should get the coaching job. Love his passion for the team. Joel says, I would take MJ for $3 million a year over Aranda or anyone else normal at that $7+ million a year. But why? Why do you care how much they spend on the coach? It's not coming out of your pocket. It's not coming out of my pocket. There's some booster out there who's got unlimited money. He's on a farm. He's chilling. He's got unlimited cash, and he says, go do whatever you got to do to win today. If it costs $7 million, great. If it costs $12 million, great. If it costs $3 million, fantastic. But I want to find the guy who fits. If Dave Aranda was the right guy, I've got my own opinions on Dave Aranda, but let's say he was for $7 million, and you got Mickey Joseph for $3 million. That money does not matter to any of us. That money doesn't matter to the University of Nebraska. It doesn't matter to the booster. All that matters is for the sake of our well-being that we win football games right now. If Dave's the right guy for $7 million, bring Dave in for $7 million. That's all I'm going to say. That's all my thought is. Brad says that booster is Crypto Badger. That's a fact. Crypto Badger is probably the secret booster who's dropping the millions for these coaches. Robert says it's not your money, people. And that's it. We aren't the ones who have to worry about money. If you're a Texas A&M fan, right? Think of it this way. You're a Texas A&M fan. You just gave Jimbo, I think it was 3 years ago, a $100 million contract. First contract of its kind. That was groundbreaking. That set the stage for what we're watching today with Lincoln Riley with the $100 million, Dabo with the $100 million, Nick Saban $12 million a year, like whatever these numbers are, they're insanity. Jimbo set the stage. Jimbo, you guys are watching college football. You know what the vibe is over there at Texas A&M. Jimbo very well could be out in the next couple of years. Do you think the fans care? The fans want to win now. They don't care about the money. The only people who matter are the boosters who have to drive the money or have to pay the money or have to be the ones who drive the decision, right? They're good. They're chilling. The oil's running. Gas is $6 a gallon next to my house. They're chilling. Money's not an issue. Money's not something I think about, not something I care about. Nebraska's got unlimited money. The amount of money I spend on Nebraska football games, the amount of money I spend on Nebraska gear, Nebraska is chilling. 90,000 show up every week. Nebraska's straight. We're good. Noah says, honestly, all we hear is names. I just want a coach that can get us wins in bowl games every year. I have a coach. I have a coach for you. His name's Matt Campbell. Don't shoot the guy who's saying it, but Matt Campbell could get you exactly what you're asking for. He could get us 7, 8 wins a year. I'm confident in that. He could also get us to a bowl game every year. I'm confident in saying that as well. Would you like a Matt Campbell, Noah? Because he can get you that if that's what you want. You said, I just want a coach that can get you that. Because if that's what you want, go after Matt Campbell. Done. We figured it out. That just to me was a key word. And no, don't get upset. That just was just, why'd you have to put it there? Because just is what Iowa has. Just enough. They have just a good enough defense, and I can't even say anything about their offense. They have just enough on that team to get them to a bowl game almost every year and win games every year. But do you want to be a just team? Do you want Nebraska to be just? I know, Noah. It is your bad. I know. I just want to make sure you don't use words like that again. Because no just over here. We want a team who can make it not just to 9 wins, but make it to Rose Bowls or whatever the bowl game is going to be for this new, I don't know, the new setup, right? The new college football playoff setup. I want a coach who can get us to the playoff, essentially, get us to Big Ten championships, win our rivalry games, just score 60 a game, just have the #1 defense in the country, just have a couple first-round draft picks. That's all I'm saying. You'll never use the word just again, huh, Noah? Here's another one we could talk about. Sean Callahan came out today, and Sean mentioned that a coach who he thinks is in the running is Mark Stoops. And he had some really good points, and I looked into it, and I thought about it myself. I've already talked about Mark Stoops in a past video. One of the things that deterred me, or not deterred me, I like him. One of the things that made me think that he would be deterred, that's a better way to say it, was that he's at a school who's now backing him. And that school is saying, hey, we're all in on football. But keep in mind, they'll never be all in on football the way they're all in on basketball, right? I saw some stuff with him, what was the right word? Debating, having conversation with or against John Calipari, the head coach. Is that his name? I don't know. Doesn't matter. The head coach at Kentucky, he was having conversations for basketball. He's having conversations back and forth about why they need to put more of an emphasis on football. Basically, why more money needs to go into the football program. And I don't think he'll ever have as much control over the university as he would at a school like Nebraska, Oklahoma, or any other big powerhouse that emphasizes football. That could make him say, hey, I need to get the hell out of Kentucky, and I need to get to a place where they value football first. Hello. Nebraska football is here for you because there is nothing more that there is nothing that matters more than this football program right now. You get everything. He's an interesting one. He's a winner right now. He's going to have a top 5, let's call it top 7 draft pick in Will Levis. Got him out of the transfer portal so he can recruit out the portal. He took one of our own out the portal, Wan'Dale Robinson, sent him in the 2nd round. That guy is now playing on the New York Giants as a starting wide receiver. Keep that in mind. He took him from a running back, messed up role, don't even know what to call him at Nebraska, to the star receiver on their team, right? Makes you interested, makes you think, interested in exploring the idea of Mark Stoops at Nebraska, a guy who's had some first-round draft picks on defense, a guy who's won when he's not supposed to win at Kentucky, because what the hell do you got going on at Kentucky? Just saying, he's an option. He's someone that is going to be interested in the job most likely. There's going to be a coach who could potentially come in here who no one thought would come. That's one of them. There's another one. We'll get to it. I know you guys are waiting for another SEC coach, and I'm going to bring his name up in a second. We'll get there. Lucky Clover, thank you for the $2 super chat. What about Gus Malzahn? Hasn't come up. Yeah, Gus Malzahn, nah, is how I feel. Hasn't been an elite coach at UCF. He's been good. Josh Heupel was good. Scott Frost was good. One of them panned out. One of them didn't. Gus Malzahn's already shown what he can do at a powerhouse program. He was at a Tier 2 school in Auburn. They were good, but they didn't turn the corner. They didn't win as many games as they could have with a better coach, I don't think. I don't know. The name is underwhelming, I think is the right word. Gus Malzahn is on the same level to me as a Matt Campbell. Good coach, not bagging him. But if you're Trev Alberts, like we said before, and you've got one chance to get this right, you've got unlimited money behind you, you line up to bat, and you swing and strike out, you're gone. Gus Malzahn feels like a guy you could strike out with. I'm going to guess. I'm not even going to look at the chat. I'm going to guess the chat agrees. Just my thought. Jeremy says he slept on the 402 merch and he missed out. Ooh. Jeremy, it's okay. We still got the 402 hoodies. There's a few left. 402 hoodies. There are other t-shirts. We got plenty of merch left. It's just the 402 sold out for the most part. There's a couple sizes left. Dabo was a wide receiver coach when he got the job at Clemson, just saying. Yeah, and he's been great. And there's been other wide receiver coaches, but there's only one who you know his name, and you know Dabo's name. But what about the other coaches who had chances and got transitioned into that head coaching role and failed? You don't remember all of those. The odds are you don't find a Dabo too often. There's a chance Mickey might be the next Dabo. I'm not arguing with that. But the stakes weren't as high at Clemson. Clemson was good back then. But Clemson wasn't a Tier 1 program back then. Clemson wasn't a Tier 1 job. They were a Tier 2, Tier 2.5 job. He made Clemson, which is incredible. But, I mean, I can't argue for Mickey because of Dabo. I hope that's fair. I'm getting through chat, guys. I got to catch up. There's a lot of chat I haven't been paying attention to. Am I going to say Nick Saban? Ha! No, sir. No, sir. But I am going to say Lane Kiffin. Let's pull up Twitter. Let's talk about what we saw on Twitter. Because Twitter's where all the rumors start, where all the conversation starts. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Crazed. I don't tweet much. Tweet a little. But you can communicate with me there. Here's what popped up. Huskers Talk posted this tweet yesterday. It said, rumors, real or fake? And this is a flight tracker from Oxford to Lincoln on Sunday. This could have been Lane Kiffin going to visit Malachi Coleman after he played a game against Auburn last week. This could have been Lane Kiffin coming to see Trev Alberts, which it couldn't have been that. This could have been Trev Alberts going to Ole Miss in the late night of Saturday, I guess. That doesn't make any sense either. And coming back Sunday morning. Anyway, the math doesn't add up for any of these. So there were a lot of rumors saying, oh, well, maybe it's one of those things I just mentioned. It wasn't any of those, okay? It got 1,000 plus likes. It got almost 200 retweets and 200 comments. And a lot of people are saying, wow, this is crazy. Lane Kiffin somehow is tied to Nebraska. This whole tweet is bullshit. This guy posted this knowing full well this is not the Nebraska football plane. There's a plane number for Nebraska's team, and this isn't it. That's also not the team plane for Ole Miss, so it wasn't Lane Kiffin. Who knows what it was? It doesn't matter what it was. The point is, it has now sparked the discussion of, is Lane a contender? Lane's always been a contender. Let's be clear. Lane is born in Nebraska. His dad is from Nebraska, I think. Lane has ties to Nebraska with friends. Someone told me that this picture right here, it says Omahans, Nebraska for Ole Miss. Someone told me that these guys are friends of Lane's and got flown out by Lane. I don't know if that's true or not. I had a couple DMs about that. Who knows if it's true? Either way, Lane retweeted this picture. Thumbs up. Thumbs up from Lane for the Nebraska fans at the Ole Miss game. Anyway, Lane has also made a bunch of little ominous, if you're an Ole Miss fan, ominous tweets to hint that maybe he's on his way out. We'll talk about that in a second. But here's the thing. Lane Kiffin has coached at USC. He's coached at Tennessee. He was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders as well. Crazy to think, right? Lane has coached at Alabama under Saban as a offensive coordinator. He's also coached at Florida Atlantic as the head coach. All right. He has gone from historically good coach's son to superstar coach in his own right for brief periods of time, to failing and going back to the Nick Saban school to learn how to be a football coach again, to climbing back up, and now rebuilding his name. Lane Kiffin's a young guy. I think he's Scott Frost's age, about that. Lane is not going to settle. And tell me if I'm wrong in the chat. I'll get back to chat in a second. Tell me, though. Lane is not going to be a guy who says, you know what? I have reached the promised land, and I am setting my roots at Ole Miss. Plant the flag. We're going to build Ole Miss into a powerhouse. You think that's going to happen? Come on. I know you don't know that, or you don't think that's going to happen. You know that's not going to happen. We all know that's not going to happen. Lane Kiffin is an all-time type of coach. He's been a head coach since I think he was in his early or probably mid-30s. Lane Kiffin is going to be a Tier 1 head coach. He is going to be at a school where the fans show up. He has voiced his disapproval for fans not showing up at Ole Miss. He is disgusted by it. It is a disgrace to have a 10-3 team last year who made the Sugar Bowl. They lost to Baylor, but now 7-0, and they can't fill up their stands. In the SEC, that is embarrassing. It does not help for recruiting. It's wrong on all levels. That doesn't happen in Lincoln, though, bro. Lane, it doesn't happen in Lincoln, and Lane knows it. Don't get confused. Lane knows this is the Tier 2 job right now, but with some winning, this jumps back up to a Tier 1 job. I promise you, don't think I'm lying. This is a potentially sleeping giant with a coach like Lane. He tweeted this. I've learned that home isn't a place, it's a feeling. This is total troll shit. This is what you would see on a dentist's office wall, and they just wanted to throw something up to decorate, right? I've learned that home isn't a place, it's a feeling. And it alludes to Ole Miss might not feel like home. And if Ole Miss doesn't feel like home, what does? There are going to be a few big job openings this year. One of those is Nebraska. One is going to be Auburn. And Auburn's going to be very appealing to Lane because Auburn is a better job, a much better job than Ole Miss. They would be able to offer more money than Ole Miss can offer. And Ole Miss isn't paying nothing. They're paying $7.25 a year for him. Rightfully so. The guy wins like crazy. Might lose this week to LSU on the road. Don't want to jinx it. I'm a big Ole Miss homer right now. I've got the over 7.5 wins, so I'd love to seal that with a win this week. But Ole Miss might not feel like home. Nebraska, however, you're born here. That can feel like home. This guy's a troll. He will tweet things to pull on your heartstrings. He will forever mess with you. And that's why he's the #1 most interacted with head football coach on Twitter. 91,000 interactions, over or almost 30,000 more than the Texas Tech coach, and significantly more than James Franklin, Sam Pittman, Shane Beamer, Holgerson, Mel, any of these guys. So it doesn't matter. He is the epitome of what you want a coach to understand about recruiting and about social media. That was a harsh transition. Let me make it a little bit smoother. The future of college football is understanding social media. It's understanding how to get kids from a really young age to buy into your program early on, to buy into you as a head football coach early on. And then by the time their minds have formed and the time that they're ready to commit to a school or start taking trips, they are locked in on you. Lane Kiffin is all in on social media. He tweets all the time. He knows how to do TikTok. His daughters are on TikTok posting funny stuff at him. He has a social media account for the social media team at Ole Miss, running that account perfectly. The guy is so smart and so strategic. His future is extremely bright as a head coach. He's going to end up as one of these top coaches. And if Nebraska could get him, and he could shift the recruiting element at Nebraska. Because Mickey's going to shift recruiting for sure, but Mickey's not on social media. Mickey's not involved with all that, doesn't care about content. Lane understands it. He cares about it. He's at the forefront of it. You know what's great about Lane? He's like Deion Sanders. The difference is he's a good football coach. Not saying Deion's not a good football coach. Don't quote me on that. But he wins more than Deion does, and he wins against better competition. He has a lot more experience than Deion does. But he's got a lot of the good traits that we'd want from Deion. All the good things you want from Deion. You talk about, oh, he'd bring in 5 stars. He gets people talking. He's entertaining. This freaking guy's got all of that. But on top of it, he's got experience. He's got a winning history. Do I need to say it? All right, I'll say it. Lane Kiffin would be my number 1 choice. Yeah. Number 1 right up there with Urban Meyer. Maybe number 1 over Urban Meyer. Lane might bolt eventually. But what if you got 5 years out of Lane? What if Lane built the program up? Lane has got the number 3 rushing offense in the country. People like running the ball, right? I don't want to talk too much about Lane because I don't want to get you guys too excited because it's just a rumor right now. And I don't want to fuel the rumors. I just want to let you guys know that if this rumor was true, and if I did have a say, this might be the guy for me. That's all. That's all I'm going to say about Lane. Let me go back up in chat because I missed a lot of chat. Sorry about that. Beansy says, Lane makes sense for reasons even beyond the obvious Nebraska connection. The ceiling at Ole Miss is lower, and they won't be winning the SEC West with Bama. Ding, 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 ding. The alarm's going off. Beansy, thank you for the $5 super chat. That's a freaking fact, and he knows it. The Badger's back. Guys, just so you know, the Badger changed his YouTube handle to his farm name, TAKL Farms. Respect it. It's the shout out for the brand, you know what I'm saying? But he's still the Badger in my heart and in all your hearts. The Badger says it's a Mickey time. Let's go. I'm all in on Mickey right now during the season. But if Mickey doesn't beat Illinois, this is kind of how it felt with Mickey. Mickey gets hired. Let me make sure my hand's level. Mickey gets hired, starts coming in. The Mickey train's going. Then Mickey loses to OU. But that loss to OU didn't stop the Mickey train. I would say it dipped it maybe like that. But then the win against IU came, and the incline went like that. Then Rutgers came, the comeback, and it went like that. It actually probably went like that. Purdue came, and it went down a little bit, probably right to there. Basically, the Mickey train started here, and the Mickey train's here right now. The Mickey train's got to get to here for Trev Alberts to consider it. Keep that in mind. That's like that much of a gap, all right? I know. I'm trying my best. This Illinois game next Saturday is going to tell us a lot about Mickey's future. Thank you, Badger, for the $20 super chat. We always appreciate the support here. And you know everyone in the chat loves seeing that you're with us. Birdie says that's some good marketing. It is. He's a genius. You guys got to remember, he's not the crypto Badger for nothing. He's been in Bitcoin since like 2016. That's genius right there. Chris says he's got a bet going with his friends since day one, saying that Lane is the number 1 guy. Or Lane is the guy, not number 1. But that implies number 1 if he is the guy. I would love to see Lane. Apparently you'd love to see Lane, and I'm hoping it works out. Gary, thank you for the $20 super chat. MJ, old school coach we need. I respect it. Again, it's all about Trev and his future. Tell me, chat. I just want to know. A or B. Well, don't even say A or B. Just say coaches' names. Trev has to make a decision that's going to keep him as the AD at Nebraska. Trev has to make a decision that's going to bring Nebraska back to prominence. There is no let's take a chance for Trev. He needs proof. Today, gun to his head. Get your ass inside his head right now, inside Trev's head. Pretend you're Trev Alberts. Gun to the head, job on the line, Nebraska football on the line, this channel on the line. Today, no other games. Is it Mickey Joseph or a guy who's more proven? If you're Trev, Mickey Joseph or a guy who's more proven? Not what you think. What you think Trev is thinking. Chat? Kevin, I didn't say B. I don't know which one was B. Wait, is B the one? I said, is it Mickey or Proven? Proven. Okay, everybody's saying Proven. Have to go Proven. B is Proven. That's the thing. We all want... Oh, Kev says he would pull the interim tag right now. Slate Phoenix says Mickey. Gary, it's a lot of Provens in here. Brian says prove it. Daniel says proven. Ed, that's the thing. If you're Trev, not if you're us, because for us, we don't have our balls on the line. For us, we go back to work tomorrow, even if Nebraska loses. Trev, though, Trev's making, I don't know, let's call it $1 million a year. That's my guess. 800,000. I don't know how much he makes. Trev's making a good amount of money. He's at his university that he went to, where he played football at. He'd love to see it get back to prominence, and it would be really rough if he made the wrong call and if he brought a Mike Riley in. Just saying. Not saying Mickey's a Mike Riley. Not saying I don't believe he can get here. I'm just saying from the perspective of Trev Alberts, it's a risk that I'm not sure he's willing to take as of today. Thank you for the $20 super chat, Gary. Thank you for inciting the conversation. Ryan says balls are always on the line, fam. I mean, for us, is it really? We're just fans. Nothing we say matters. We just talk. We just BS, right? All right, what coaches will be retained, if any? Mickey Joseph will be retained. Bill Bush will be retained. I have a hard time thinking that Fisher's going to be retained. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think all the defensive coaches are gone. I'm not sure that Fisher would want to stay here anyway. He was loyal to Frost, and Shenander was with him for a long time. I would guess Fisher's gone no matter what. The only other one would be Sean Beckton, the tight ends coach. It's a potential. Raiola, to me, this is a conversation that we've had a few times about Raiola. Is it Raiola's fault? Is it Greg Austin's fault? Is it the offensive line talent? You know, Raiola, you would have hoped he could have done something to the offensive line. Something. He's done nothing. Has he done anything? I'm not even going to look at chat. I know the answer. No. I'm not saying it's his fault. But has he done enough to prove he belongs here? The only three I would say is potentially Sean Beckton, Bill Bush, Mickey Joseph. The only two who are for sure are Mickey Joseph and Bill Bush. Just my thought. I could be wrong. A lot of chat likes Lane Kiffin, huh? A lot of chat likes Lane Kiffin. You guys are going to like the next video I put out. I have a feeling. I'm going to try to drop it Sunday. You're going to be a fan. I'm going to break down Lane Kiffin. Why he would come to Nebraska. Why he would fit at Nebraska. Where he ranks in my tier ranking of coaches. I mean, it's going to be a thorough video. You're going to like it. Promise you that if you guys are Lane Kiffin fans. Kev said, did Frost or Trev hire Mickey? I don't know that answer. I'm going to guess Frost went out and got him. I think Frost inquired about Mickey before Trev was even at Nebraska. I believe Frost first inquired about Mickey after... Was it after Walters left? Maybe? I'm not sure. Point is, Mickey didn't come the first time when Bill Moose was here. It had to be Frost. And I don't think that Trev would go out and make individual position coach hires. That's not his job, right? We need Syracuse's OC. I'm excited for the Syracuse-Clemson game tomorrow. Unfortunately, I think Clemson's going to blow them out the water. Clemson should handle them. They're favorites by 14 points. They're at home. Clemson is fully warmed up. They know how to stop Syracuse, and I'm guessing they're going to. But Syracuse offensive coordinator's name is Robert Anae. He was formerly at BYU. He's got some experience in the Big 12 as well. I think the Pac-12, I can't remember. I did a video where I talked about him for a minute, and I did some research. Robert Anae, under Mickey Joseph, of course. I don't know about the new head coach that comes in. Don't know what they'd want to do. But if it was under Mickey Joseph, Robert Anae would be an intriguing choice. Runs the ball, has a really good running back right now. He was good before he got there, but he's made them even better. Their offense is, I mean, they're not one-dimensional. They can throw it a little bit. They're more one-dimensional, though. But that's because they don't have that many good athletes. It's freaking Syracuse. He's a former offensive line coach. It's a name that we've thrown out there. It's a name I like. Nothing's for certain. There's a lot of names I like, right? It's just something to think about in the grand scheme if Mickey's out there looking for an offensive coordinator. B. Terrell says, do you think there is any way Palmer stays for another year? Thank you for the $5 super chat and for supporting the show. But I'm about to break your heart. No. Here's why. Palmer is, at worst, a 5th round pick. Let's say he's a 5th round now, because I think he's leaning towards like 3rd or 4th round right now where it stands. But let's say a worst case he's a 5th rounder. He's been in college for 4 years already. He goes for 1,000 yards receiving this year. What more is there to prove? Is he going to jump from a 3rd rounder to a 2nd rounder? At that point, get the hell out of college. Don't risk any injury. Go get paid now. He knows what he can do. Trey is not coming back. Unfortunately. I think Marcus Washington could come back. Pretty much every receiver could come back, but Trey, he's doing what he has to do right now. Why come back when he's dominating? Noah says that Palmer could be a 2nd rounder at best. Hey, Noah, I got a question for you. What if Palmer ends the season with 1,500 yards receiving and is the #1 receiver in the Big Ten? Still 2nd rounder? I'm just curious. I don't know. Daniel says, do we get Marcus Washington? Yes, Marcus Washington will be back next year. I'm almost certain of that one. It wouldn't make sense for him not to come back. He's not going to be a draft pick. He has a pretty high ceiling. Just needs a little bit more development, a little bit more opportunity. Quarterback who can throw it to him when he's the #1 guy. And next year, he could potentially be the #1 guy with his quarterback returning. And in a perfect world, under an offensive or behind an offensive line who can allow him to throw it. We'll see. Someone gave Mickey the associate head coach tag. Yeah, that was Frost and Trev. They did that together because to get Mickey to leave LSU, they needed to give him a raise, and the only way they could get him to leave and come for a raise was to give him a job promotion. What job promotion made sense? The associate head coach. So that was a combination of Frost and Trev, I would say. Press Alpha says he's got a bag at Nebraska too. Rookie pay is pretty much the same. The difference is you get injured at Nebraska. The bag isn't the same, I don't think, for Trey Palmer. I'm not sure. It's not going to be the same. He'll be able to get in with a system. He'll be able to make all that money from the sponsorships and everything else. It's money talk is, if you're a 7th rounder in the NFL, it's one thing. If you're a 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounder, I think it's a little different. That's just my guess. I don't know how much money he makes. So Gen Red Pod says Heisman should be the talk right now. To do what he's doing in spite of a severely limited running game is incredible. There's no doubt. Maybe Biletnikoff could be in the conversation, but even that is a stretch, and I'll tell you why. Players who play for teams who don't make bowl games or who barely make bowl games don't win awards like that. It's just the sad truth. If he was on a winning team, if he was at Ohio State, conversation shifts. But unfortunately, Heisman talk is no one on Nebraska is getting the Heisman talk, no matter how good they are. Just a fact. Will Casey stay another year? Yeah, I don't see a reason Casey wouldn't stay another year. He's not going to get drafted this year, I don't think. Could transfer, I guess. Not going to transfer. I have to assume Casey's coming back. He's tied to Mickey. His family loves Mickey. He's known him his whole life. I would assume Casey's coming back. I would like that. Lane Kiffin has a new girlfriend every 2 to 3 years. Nebraska better wipe the lipstick off. Yeah, here's the sad reality about life. Every rich guy, most rich guys have a new girlfriend every 2 to 3 years in a spotlight like that. It's a fact. A lot of these coaches are cheating on their girls. It's a fact. It's every single one of them. There's always some crazy story. I don't care about any of it. I don't get involved in any of it. I don't talk about any of it because it's not my business and you don't know what's true. Shit's just getting thrown out there. It doesn't matter. That's a fact. It does not matter. Confirmed fact. Now, if he killed a person, that would matter. If he did something, he went to jail, that would matter. But any of this stuff that's, in his own life and own business and in his household, I don't care. I don't know anything about it, and I'm not getting myself involved in it. Just saying, letting you know my thoughts. Daniel says, if Whipple leaves after the season, would Chubba Purdy transfer? I'm not sure. I don't think that Chubba... I mean, he's tied to Whipple, right? But I don't think that Chubba is so tied to Whipple that he'd say, okay, I'm out. He would look at the coaches who come in and say, okay, are they going to give me a chance? Is this a system that I would thrive in? There are a lot of factors, Chubba Purdy transferring isn't even on my radar right now. I think players who would transfer, because he's so young, right? Players who would transfer are guys who aren't getting opportunities now, who feel like they earned an opportunity. Ramir Johnson is a great example, right? Gabe Ervin could be an example if he didn't get the respect in the offseason, and A.J. Allen and Anthony Grant were the two in the top, right? So those are names I would look to. Jeff makes a good point right here. Jeff, thank you for being a member, by the way. Jeff says he's already transferred twice, and that is probably going to sway his decision to stay at Nebraska. Do you want to go from Florida State, then to Nebraska, then to a third school in only what? He's going to be a sophomore next year? Probably not. I don't think he can transfer now without sitting an appeal. Yeah, I think that there's a rule in place, right? I'm not sure, but I think there's a rule in place that says you can't transfer a second time. So, I don't know. I think he would have had to enter the transfer portal in that 30-day window after Frost left, and that's what Isaiah Garcia Castaneda did. Isaiah left because he knew he wanted to leave. So because he entered the portal, he now is going to be able to play next year, doesn't burn any eligibility. This year is a complete wash. That's how that works. Bill, thank you for becoming a member. Gen Red Pod, if Whipple leaves, it will be because Mickey doesn't get the job. Or because Whipple's health is an issue. There have been a lot of rumors about Whipple's health. I do think that there's always got to be some fire where there's smoke. A little bit. Just a little bit. And if he does have some health issues, he might have to step down. So Mickey could get the job and Whipple might not be here next year. Just a thought. Going back through chat, guys. Chat, what are your thoughts about if Raiola was only put as O-line head coach to try and get Dylan back to being a commit to Nebraska? It's no. Dylan isn't coming to Nebraska for Donovan Raiola. Dylan is more likely to come to Nebraska if they have a proven offensive line coach than if they have his uncle. He's not going to come where there's a coach who's not getting it done. He's watching this offensive line this year, and he's like, holy shit, I could never play at that school, ever. Are you kidding me? Dylan Raiola, 5-star quarterback, NFL future, superstar, Heisman contender, national championship quality quarterback, looking at our line, saying, you know what? My loyalty lies with my uncle. Let me double chin strap, double flak jacket. Let me get some shin guards. Also, if you have a steel plate for my chest so I don't die. No. He is not coming to Nebraska. He is not going to play behind an offensive line that looks like this. However, if he got Lane Kiffin, maybe Lane Kiffin could say, hey, we got some real protection now, and we've got a good offense. We can make it work. I know you're a Nebraska guy. Let's get it cracking. Maybe there's a chance, like a 1% chance. But with Donovan Raiola, there is a 0.000, actually a negative 0.5% chance that he will come here to play for his uncle. It would not make sense. He would be mangled. What are we talking about? There are some serious issues with that offensive line, and this guy does not want to come here and ruin his life. Okay. Benjamin, thank you for the $10 super chat. My dad is working with Miko Dotson, who's buddies with Purdy, and he claims Purdy is going to transfer and be back with Frost. That's interesting. Imagine if Frost went to Arizona State. Ooh, fun game. Frost goes to Arizona State. Okay, wait. Let me think here. It's more likely that Frost becomes an offensive coordinator than a head coach. That's just my thinking. He could be a head coach, though. Let's say, for the sake of this, Frost is either the head coach at ASU or he's the offensive coordinator at ASU underneath his friend who gets the head coaching job at ASU, who's currently the interim head coach at ASU, who brought Scott Frost in to work with him as an analyst. Not sure for how long or how much, but he did go into work as an analyst for ASU under that guy who he's friends with. Okay. None of that matters except the fact that Frost is at Arizona State. Chubba Purdy is from, ding, 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 Arizona. Okay, now, Chubba relinks with Frost at ASU. Now we're on to something. Thank you for pointing that out, Benjamin. Thank you for the insider info, if it is really insider info. This could be just another rumor from a guy like Johnny Sins on Twitter, but we'll say it's real info. I would not be surprised at all. 0% surprised, actually, because those things just line up. Scott Frost recruited him. He's from Arizona. Arizona State needs a QB because they're going to lose Emory Jones. Yes, it makes sense. Interesting. Thank you for that. Thank you for the 10 and the information. That was awesome. B. Terrell, thank you for the $5 super chat. I know Tommy Hill is returning kicks. Why don't you think Ramir isn't the other person back there with him on kickoffs? Trey's pretty explosive. Trey's gotten some opportunities back there. And I think that they want a guy who's better fit for that role. I guess they don't think Ramir's the best return man. They probably think he's a better receiving back or running back or wide back, whatever they call him. I just have to assume Tommy Hill has the awareness as a returner that they don't see from Ramir. That's my guess. I don't know the answer, though. It would make sense that my guess is correct because a coach usually wants the guy who fits the mold the best, and if Tommy Hill fits the mold, leave him in. Who knows? Bill, thank you for the $20 super chat. We appreciate you here. I'm hoping that the O-line with this bye week will get better in pass protection. We all hope that, man. Is it realistic? Is it going to come to fruition? My heart says no. Actually, my heart says no. My heart says no. My head says no. Heart says no. Heart says Nebraska is stuck with a really broken offensive line. And they've known it for a year. And they did everything they could this offseason to fix it. They brought in a new offensive line coach to fix it. He couldn't get it done. They switched the offensive line up 69 different ways. Couldn't get it done. They've had injuries. New guys have had to play. Not a coach's choice. Not like we're going to move Teddy out and bring this guy. No. It's Teddy's gone. We have no other option, so throw him in there. It's happened to multiple positions where guys are hurt, can't play a game. Last week, Bando didn't play. They had to throw somebody in. At this point, I'm going to say it. It is what it is. Could they get better? I just don't like lying to you guys. You know what I'm saying? I like being truthful and honest because I don't want to be the guy that when you're watching the game, you're like, you know what? Connor told me the offensive line could be better this week. And then watch Casey Thompson get sacked 4 times in the first half, or against Illinois, it might be 6 times in the first half. And then have you say, God damn it, I'm done watching Corn Crazed because he keeps lying to me, selling me false hope. I'm not that guy. We're keeping it real here. Bill, I wish so bad with all my heart. That's all I can say. I wish. Gary, thanks for the $20 super chat. You're coming through tonight. Adrian Martinez wins the Heisman. The odds right now are not in his favor. I think he's in 7th place. But I'll tell you what it would take. Because he's the only quarterback in college football who hasn't thrown an interception yet. Keep that in mind. He would have to beat TCU this week. TCU is the number 8 team in the country. Kansas State is the number 17 team in the country. TCU has the number 4, 5 offense, somewhere in there. They score like freaking crazy. What that means is TCU is going to put up 40 points this week. 35 to 45, let's say. Somewhere in that range is my guess. Which means Adrian Martinez to win that game will have to score that many points. If Adrian could somehow do that, upset the number 8 team in the country, and have Kansas State ranked in the top 12 with a legitimate chance to win the Big 12 at that point, man, the odds just skyrocket for Adrian. He goes from like the 8th to the 6th or 5th best guy in that Heisman ranking for odds. The chances are there, but this week will be the deciding factor. Beat TCU, the hope is alive. Lose to TCU, flush it away. I would personally love to see Adrian in, where is it? Chicago, New York, wherever it is. I'd love to see Adrian at that podium or in front of that podium as a Heisman hopeful in the final 4 or 5 picks. That would be incredible. Odds are against him right now. His team he doesn't have any receivers. That hurts him. Offensive line is decent. Defense is okay. There's a hump to climb over, I think is the right way to say it. I'd love it, though. I hope. I hope. Jeff says, who would hire Frost to be a head coach? Jeff, I said the same thing last year about this guy named Clay Helton. And Clay Helton left USC and got a head coaching job at Georgia Southern. Sometimes it doesn't work out at school number 1, but it can work out at school number 2. Sometimes you're not built for the Big Ten, but you might be built for the Pac-12. In Scott Frost's case, when the Pac-12 is down bad, they may very well take a shot on a guy like Scott Frost. Just saying. I'm not saying he's going to get the job. I'm just saying let's, explore the idea. We're here to have a conversation. We're just talking about some things. You know what I'm saying? Back to chat. Jen Redpod says there's a hooker in Tennessee that might win it. That's a fact. He's the favorite right now, in my opinion. He's awesome. Well, Stroud's pretty good too, but the SEC has that bias, and I just think Hendon's going to get a little bit of that SEC bias down the stretch. We'll find out, though. And Noah says he did it against OU, so I don't see why he couldn't do it again against TCU. And that's 100% true. That's why TCU's only a 3.5-point favorite this week at home, although they have all of those things going for them. They've got a really hot streak going. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Let's see here. Is his buyout that much? I don't know if 22 million is the right number. But even if it is, Nebraska can afford it if they really want him, right? Because guess what? Someone's buying him out. Someone's going after Lane Kiffin. One of these big name schools is going to go and try and get him because they want him. He's a good coach. He's proven. I think my odds here were really high that he would become an offensive coordinator for Nick Saban or an analyst for Nick Saban. But after seeing stuff with him being around now and being an analyst at other schools, I got to guess he goes to the Pac-12. And there's plenty of Pac-12 schools that would take him as an offensive coordinator. Plenty, because he had so much success at Oregon before. I just think he fits the Pac-12. Would not be surprised to see him there. We need Purdue and maybe Minnesota to take losses tomorrow. Well, here's the good news. Minnesota is at Penn State. It's a whiteout. I believe it's a night game. I can't remember. They're a 5-point dog. Penn State should handle them. Purdue is a 2.5-point dog to Wisconsin. They're playing at Wisconsin. They have not beaten Wisconsin since 2003. Purdue should lose to Wisconsin tomorrow, even though Wisconsin's down bad. So both of these two things I can see happening, Bill. And yeah, it would be good for Nebraska if both those things did happen for our sake in where we finish in the Big Ten West. Keeps us alive. Robert says Lane was born in Lincoln. Kiffin was a head case. But after his time with Saban, he seems to have it going. That's why a lot of people thought Frost could go back with Saban, because he could get his career back on track. And maybe he could mature a little bit. The thing with Lane Kiffin is he was really young when he started taking over as a coach. I think he was like 32 when he became the head coach for the Raiders. And then he was like 34 when he was the head coach for Tennessee, or 35 at SC, something like that. He was really young. So yeah, he had to get himself straightened out. It's the right way to say it. Ice Dragon says Scott Frost has Pac-12 experience with Chip Kelly, plus he has AAC and Big Ten experience. ASU might go with him. Yeah, ASU could go with a guy like him. They could go with a guy like Deion Sanders. There are so many coaches they would settle on because they can't attract big names like Nebraska can. They can't afford big names like Nebraska can. They don't prioritize football like Nebraska does. Just saying, no disrespect to ASU. Talked about this earlier, Jose, but you weren't here for it. So do we get Malachi Coleman tomorrow? Yeah. We'll say it again for everyone who wasn't here earlier. Malachi Coleman has not visited anywhere else recently. He's been at every Nebraska game. He loves Mickey Joseph. Mickey Joseph will be back here next year in some capacity, whether that's as the head coach or as the receiver coach, associate head coach, or the recruiting coordinator. Who knows? Malachi is going to stick with Mickey. Right now, he is committing to Nebraska. Yes, it's not even going to be like a thing I watch tomorrow. I already know. He's coming to Nebraska. Or For the time being, he's coming to Nebraska until something changes in the future before he signs. But right now, Malachi's all in Nebraska. Kevin says if a coach leaves his job willingly, does he have to be bought out? Yes. So if a coach like Lane Kiffin was going to come to Nebraska, we would have to pay off Ole Miss out of his contract. Husker3435 says Clay Helton might travel a little north to Georgia Tech. That would be really interesting if he was a one and done at Georgia Southern and went to Georgia Tech. Georgia Southern just beat number 25 James Madison last week at home, and they were 12.5-point underdogs. That's 2 huge upsets he's already pulled this year. I would be surprised to see him take over Georgia Tech that quickly, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. But one and done just seems, wow. It happens. We'll see. This is a funny one. Jen Red Pod says, what if Chip Kelly hired Frost as OC and he ends up back in the Big Ten in 2024? That would be insane. I think it's extremely unlikely. I don't think they'll coach again in that capacity, like a head coach, offensive coordinator deal. I think that ship kind of sailed, and why try to recreate it? We know it's over. But it would be a really interesting storyline to have both of them back together, and also for Scott Frost to come back and coach against Nebraska. That would be crazy. Zach says, what about Mickey Joseph's brother as DC if Mickey stays as head coach? Yeah, I mean, people talked about it. I mentioned it in my last video. I'm not against the idea, but I'm also not ecstatic about the idea. It's kind of like, what's the point? He hasn't been a head coach or a defensive coordinator in college football yet. He hasn't had the best defense recently. Yeah, he's got experience as a defensive coordinator, but NFL and college are different. It's like, why risk that? Go after a defensive coordinator from a school who's, like Nebraska, a Big Ten school. Something that says you're proven to do this job. But I very well could see Mickey saying, hey, this is the right guy. I believe in him. I can trust him. I want him. So who knows? I don't know enough about the transition from coordinator in the NFL to coordinator in college. I just see a lot of coordinators in college go to the NFL and fail. And I'm like, do we want that here? I don't, but we'll see. What's up, Zach? Glad to see you here. We're about to do our picks, so you'll be able to chime in and let me know what you're thinking too. Don't do business with family. If Vance struggles, we can't ask Mickey to fire him. I love that, and it brings me to the thought about Kirk Ferentz and his son, Brian. And he, for whatever reason, can't get rid of Brian, even though Brian's holding the entire team back. Do we want that with Mickey and Vance? Probably not. Just my thought. Always thought Nebraska should hire Will Muschamp as defensive coordinator. Wow, that actually would be interesting. So, Will Muschamp right now is the co-DC at Georgia. He was the DC at Texas, the DC at Auburn, head coach at Florida, head coach at South Carolina. That could be an interesting one if they brought Will Muschamp in. You might be onto something, Jeff, because Will Muschamp's not going to stay a co-DC forever. Wow, interesting. I never thought of it. Never even popped into my head. I like it. Did Bo do well with his brother? There were, actually, I mean, I'm not even going to ask you guys the question. You know the answer. Bo didn't do well with his brother. Nebraska's defense was giving up massive plays all the time, losing games by 40 points because the defense was literally not tackling. That's a really good example of what we are talking about. So yeah, it's dangerous to hire family. That's kind of where we're at. What's up, Dom? Happy to have you here. And Jeremy says it. Worst Nebraska defense was with Carl. Yeah, that was kind of the backbreaker for Bo. If you think back, the reason that Bo didn't make it is because his defenses were so freaking bad. Ugh. Bill says, I think if Mickey stays as head coach, I think Bill Busch would stay as DC. I don't think that's true. I think there's a really good chance that Bill Busch moves to secondary coach and that a new DC comes in. I think that's where I'd feel more comfortable, at least. No knock on Bill Busch, but I just want a guy who's had more recent experience as a defensive coordinator. Bill Busch hasn't been a defensive coordinator in some years. Let me see the last time. What happened? Oh, I popped up the wrong screen, guys. Hang on. Bill Busch. Bang, bang. What's happening to my mouse? Dang, I lost my mouse, guys. So now... Oh, there it's back. Okay. Bill Busch. Doesn't even have a Wikipedia? That's crazy. Bill Busch was the defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator in 2017. So that's 5 seasons. I just don't think they're going to stick with Bill Busch, who hasn't been a DC in that long. Just my thought. I think he's going to be a positions coach or special teams coach. So in our perfect world at this point, the way these guys are playing and the way these guys are coaching, Bill Busch stays, Mickey Joseph stays, but there's a new coordinator and a new head coach on both sides of the ball. New offensive and new defensive coordinator. Low odds, wouldn't expect it, don't think it'll happen, just a thought. I think that staff broke apart. It didn't work out as a staff. And if Scott Frost was going to be a head coach somewhere, he'd have to rebuild a staff. That's my thought. He could bring 1 or 2 pieces, but I don't think he's going to say, oh, well, let's bring the gang back together. Usually not how these things work. Usually a coach goes and has a little system reset, has to learn what he did wrong. McFly Guy says, give me Aranda with Kendall Briles. It would be a potential. Guys, I want to pause this for a second on our Nebraska talk to talk about some of the picks for the weekend, because it's a big weekend for college football. I'm assuming you guys are watching some of the games this week. So last week, let me give you guys a little recap. Last week, I had a massive week. I ended up winning. What was it? When was last weekend? The 14th? 15th? Okay, so last weekend was a huge weekend for me. So this is my bro throw account, guys. Cinnamon, I'm going to come back to this comment in 1 second. But thank you for the $5 super chat. You're saying, who in your mind was more brilliant offensive mind, Brian Ferentz or Jay Paterno? You're trolling right now. You're trolling. I would say Jay Paterno by default. Thank you for the $5. I thought you were going to make me answer some tough question. That was funny. Cinnamon's a troll. Okay. So last week, this is what happened. I had some good picks. I won on Kentucky plus 3.5. I lost on, what? These are nothing. These are $5 bets. They're just me messing around. I won on Arkansas. I won on Syracuse. I won on Oklahoma State. I won on everything. I had 2 losses, but one of my losses was a $5. And then on my other book where I do parlays, I had a bunch of wins. I ended up last weekend going plus 855. Good weekend. Since then, I've had some choppy days, but I never lose more than, like, what, $60? Yeah, okay. Anyway, tomorrow I have a lot of picks. Tonight I have some picks in action, whatever. We're going to talk about some of the bets. So, Bro Throw is the sponsor for our channel. If you guys want to join our Bro Throw group, here's our group. You just type in brothrow.com/GBR. So brothrow.com/GBR. Then you join my group. I admit you in like that. And now we have 340 members. That's how this works. Very simple from my end. In here, you've got the chat box where people in the group are talking to each other, talking about different picks, whatever. Then these are all picks members in the chat or members in the group are making. Okay, so I can see right here that, for example, Jacob, who's part of our group, wants Ohio State minus 28.5. So you can go and bet on Iowa for $5. Anyway, I've got some games this week that I've been thinking about, putting a lot of thought into. And I want to know what you guys are thinking. I personally like Clemson, minus 14. It's a lot of points, but here's the deal. Both Syracuse and Clemson are ranked. It's a home game for Clemson. The points are so big that it tells me that the book knows Clemson's that much better of a team and they can dominate them. My guess is Syracuse turns one-dimensional. They can't throw the ball. They run it like crazy. Clemson's really good against the run. They shut that down. And if Syracuse can't get after them in the pass game, Clemson's going to make them turn it over. They're going to have plenty of stops. And Clemson's offense is just going to take over. I think Clemson can win this by 17-21. This is a play I haven't placed yet, but I think I'm going to place Clemson minus 14. Just saying, that's a pick I like. Another one, I was talking to somebody in our group chat. You guys are asking what's the parlay. I really like Baylor. Baylor laying 10 at home against Kansas doesn't make much sense to me. Dave Aranda's a good defensive mind. Kansas is playing with that backup QB who is very turnover prone. They lost last week by 10 to Oklahoma. Baylor, in theory, isn't as good as Oklahoma, but they're still laying as many points. Again, something that the book knows that we don't. I like Baylor. I'm not going to lay 10 with Baylor. However, I do like Baylor on the money line for a parlay. So Baylor money line in a parlay would be one I take. Another one, I like Miami in that same parlay money line. Miami's minus 10 against Duke. It opened at minus 8. I kind of like minus 8. I think there were a couple analysts who said Miami minus 8. But Miami's gotten better and better as the season's gone on. Duke hasn't. Duke's been kind of the same. They've plateaued. Duke just lost to North Carolina in an emotional game last weekend. Big rivalry. They now have to travel to Miami, and I just think Miami's going to be able to handle this one. 10's a lot. I'm liking Miami on the money line in the parlay. I would take Miami minus 8, though. I did take Miami minus 8. See what else here. I took Memphis plus 7. I don't know what it is. I just love riding Memphis always, and I think Memphis and Tulane's a bit of a rivalry. This one could be coming down to the end. I'm just taking the team with the points. I don't know enough about Tulane other than they've only lost one game and they're now in the top 25. Memphis had a little bit of magic at the end of the game last week, and Memphis ended up covering for me. So that was a positive. Now, an Erie line is Purdue, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's minus 1.5. Wisconsin, who just lost to Michigan State. Wisconsin, who lost their head coach. Against Purdue, who just beat Nebraska. Against Purdue, who's 5-2 and number 2 in the Big Ten West, or number 1 tied with Illinois. This line doesn't make much sense. And because it doesn't make much sense, I'm riding Wisconsin. It could be a pick I regret. There were some people telling me that they're all in on Purdue this week. I'm going Wisconsin. They haven't lost to Purdue in 23 years, and I don't think they're going to lose again. I think Wisconsin's just the better football team. It's just a guess. I could be wrong. Ole Miss, LSU. I love Ole Miss because I love Lane Kiffin. My heart wants to take Ole Miss because they have the number 3 rushing offense in the country. LSU misses a lot of tackles, but here's the problem. Ole Miss does too. LSU's at home. LSU's coming off a big win against Florida. Something about this line isn't right. Ole Miss is a top 10 team nationally. It screams take LSU. And I'm not going to touch it because I want to take Ole Miss. I don't trust LSU. I think they're inconsistent. So I'm not playing that game. This one I am playing. I took UCLA plus 6. I took them plus 6. It's now at plus 6.5. UCLA has a really good running game, but Oregon's really good at stopping their run. Oregon beat them last year handily. And they're obviously favored here by 6.5. I just think UCLA has a better quarterback in this situation. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is like a 5th or 6th year guy. Bo Nix, turnover prone. Bo Picks is what they like to call him. I can't bet on Oregon, so I'm betting on UCLA. I think it'll be close. My guess, my hope. We'll see. What else do I like here? Kansas State TCU is plus 3.5. I'm not sure, chat. I'm not sure on this one. It's an Erie line because TCU's coming off a huge victory last week, emotional victory over Oklahoma State. Huge comeback in overtime. Kansas State's coming off a bye week. Kansas State has a quarterback who I would deem better than TCU's QB, Max Duggan. However, they both are very similar. The plus 3.5 makes me feel like you got to go Kansas State because the line should be in TCU's favor. But I just don't know enough. I don't know enough about TCU's defense and how they're going to handle Kansas State, and I don't know about Kansas State's receivers. Benjamin says, Connor, you should do a video explaining what the money line and parlays are and the other betting stuff. It's kind of confusing. Well, I'll give you a really simple answer on what money line is and the spread is right here. So right here, you see this U 44.5. So U43, that's the under for the total of the game. So the game total is going to go over 43 points or under 43 points, which means that's the final total points scored by both teams. So if the final score is 24-23, then the over would hit because 24 plus 23 is 47, and that's over 43, right? So you'd win your bet if you took the over. This is the money line. So this is the odds that this team will win or this team will win. If you bet 100, it's minus 210. So 100 would pay 48. Is that what it is? 49. On this one, 100 would pay you 170. So it's simple math. Just if you have a betting calculator, if you guys don't understand these odds, go on to what is it? American Odds. If you type in American Odds on Google, American Odds calculator, type in 170, then put in what your bet is. $5. It'll do the math for you and tell you. But this is how you take a bet. You click the plus 170. The line, or right now it's 190. You hit continue. Your payout would be plus 190 on whatever you bet. So if you bet 10, it would be $11.90 or $19 flat. Best way I can explain it. Then this is against the spread. The spread is +5 -5. So you're giving points. So if Minnesota wins the game and you have +5, you win. If Minnesota loses by 4 and you have +5, you still win because you add 5 onto their final point total. With Penn State, if you bet Penn State -5, they win the game 28-27. You take off 5 points from the final total of Penn State. That's it. Simple way. I don't know how better to explain it, guys. That's like, I'm not a guy who explains gambling, but that's the simple way. Anyway, these are my picks for the week, some of them. If you guys have any others that you've thought of or that you want to talk about, we can. I'm excited for this weekend of bets because last week I was so hot. And this week I don't have to worry about Nebraska. So I get to focus on all these other games. Iowa is a 29.5 point underdog. Are you kidding me? Iowa has the number 4 defense in the country, and they're still projected to lose by 30 points. Iowa is a complete joke. And what's good about this is Iowa could miss a bowl game this year. It finally feels right. Like Iowa's gotten what they deserve. They've been so badly good over the past, 6 years? They're never good. They're always just beating shitty teams. They beat Nebraska every year. They beat Illinois every year. But those aren't good football teams. Then they make it to a bowl game and they get beat by an SEC school or whatever. So I'm glad that Iowa finally sucks. Getting back to chat, guys. Sorry. Is this true? I'm going to Twitter because I don't know. I don't know if I could trust the comments. Pete Thamel. Wow. Guys, this is wow. What if this is true? So Pete Thamel verified. He's actually broken a bunch of news, not nudes. College football senior writer for ESPN. Legitimate guy. Source. Nick Saban has informed his team this will be his final season at Alabama. He will finish the season with the team. Guys, that's insanity. Wow. Dabo Swinney. Rumors are going to heat up right now. They're going to come in hot for him to go to Bama. Could you imagine Dabo making the playoff this year? With Clemson, making the playoff and then saying, guys, hey, you're great. I've been with you for however long, but I'm out. Peace. And Dabo dips. Brent Venables was like the second longest coach there. He already went. Wow. Yeah, that would be interesting. Chat, what are your thoughts? No, it's a verified account. Verified account. I'm checking the account name. But guys, if it's verified, isn't that I'm confused. Is it just a fake verification? I don't know. Who knows? If Saban retires, Kiffin is going for Alabama. Dewey says just because he has a check doesn't mean he's correct. That's true. Everyone says not true, Cap. Okay, then fine, guys. We'll wipe away what we just said. We could hope, though. Because I think it would be pretty interesting if Saban left. Okay, here's a question I've got for you guys. That's a good point. Legend of Penn, I didn't check how many followers he had. I didn't even read that. So we'll assume it's not true then. Wait, I saw a comment I wanted to ask you guys about. Damn, I lost the comment. I don't know. Okay, don't know where it went. There was another comment I just saw that I do want to click on, though. Someone said I'm late, want to talk about... Okay, well, I can't find the comment, but I saw what it was. It said Fickle, it said Stoops, and Lane Kiffin, because those were all people I put in my title. Let's talk about something, because you can't compare those three. They're all very different, but you can compare two of them. So, guys, PJ Fleck or Matt Campbell? Chat, PJ Fleck or Matt Campbell? Let me know in the comments. We're going to do a little question for chat right now, a few different coaches. PJ or Matt Campbell? Campbell, neither. Campbell, neither. Fleck. 2 for Fleck, 2 for Campbell. Some people saying no. More Fleck. Okay, I'll personally tell you I would ride with Fleck. Campbell loses a lot of one-score games. Fleck's been hot lately, but Fleck's also been not hot lately. Ugh, he's been ugly. All right, so you guys are pass on both. Okay, here's another one. Dave Aranda. Dave Aranda's 3-3 at Baylor. Okay, and if things go the way they've been going, Dave Aranda's going to end 6-6. So Dave Aranda or Mark Stoops. Dave Aranda, Mark Stoops. Stoops, Aranda. It's pretty split. Because, there's been a lot of talk about Aranda, but not many people have been talking about Stoops until the day when Callahan said he thinks he's a legitimate option. Wow. Stoops. JJ, tell us why you don't think Stoops is going to, or why Stoops wouldn't, why he wouldn't leave. Because I'll tell you what, Stoops is going to look for another job where he can have the full support of the administration towards football, not towards basketball. Because right now, he's at a school that focuses all their attention on basketball. He's got something he's building out at Kentucky. JJ, let me know. I'm not sold on the idea that Stoops wouldn't leave. Just to be honest, I think there's a really good chance he could. Nicholas says, all things aside, realistically, what are you thinking for NU? I like to hear opinions from those who don't reside in Nebraska. Who are we asking this question to? You're asking me for what I'm thinking for NU? Because I feel like I tell you all the time what I'm thinking for NU. Let me know. Because I'm confused. Me? I mean, I tell you all the time what I think for Nebraska. Give me a specific question and I'll answer it. This is my Q&A segment. We're live. I'm answering whatever you want to know. Tell me specifically what you want to know. JJ's back. I think he's got the perfect job now. No pressure, and he's not going anywhere unless it's a perfect situation for him. Yeah, no pressure for sure, but there are a lot of other schools that would be more perfect situations, I think. I don't think that you settle at Kentucky. I don't think you settle at Ole Miss. You settle at Auburn. You settle at Nebraska. You settle at Texas. You settle at USC. You settle at Michigan. You don't settle at Kentucky. You don't settle at Ole Miss. That's just my honest thinking, especially when you're trying to be an elite coach. I don't know, man. I don't know. Nicholas says you want Lane, but is Lane realistic? Yeah, Lane is 100% realistic. Does Lane want the Nebraska job right now? I'm not sure. Lane did want the Nebraska job back in 2005 or whatever it was. But Lane wasn't a realistic candidate back then. He hadn't been a college football head coach yet. Lane has ties to Nebraska. Lane wants to go to a bigger school. He wants to go where the fan support is unmatched. Right now at Ole Miss, he doesn't have that. Right now at Ole Miss, he's making $7.25 million a year. At Nebraska, he could make 10. Lane wants to go to a place like Nebraska. Is it Nebraska? I'm not sure. But it's going to be one of these big schools pretty soon. Lane Kiffin will not be at Ole Miss forever. Lane Kiffin has been known to hop around school to school. Lane Kiffin will look for the right place for him. Ole Miss isn't the right place. He's just made it the right place for the time being. Is he trying to be elite? Lane Kiffin and Mark Stoops both are trying to be elite. Yes, they're both trying to be elite. I don't think either of those guys are 65-year-old men who are like, oh, let me retire and have a chill job. No, they are still climbing the mountaintop. Is Leipold still a viable option after fluttering out the last couple weeks? Yeah, he's fluttered out with a backup QB and against good football teams, right? They were close losses. Oklahoma's kind of shit, but TCU's a really good school, top 10. Yeah, I would say he's still a viable candidate. Yeah. Yep. JJ says the ideal job is not Nebraska. Interesting. I disagree, but interesting. Does Lane meet Trev's toughness identity? Comments. Yeah, I mean, he's had some pretty, it's been, 5 years? He's been at some weaker schools. But he had some strong running backs at Bama. He coached Derrick Henry. He's the offensive coordinator there for Derrick Henry, for Bo Scarborough, for TJ Yeldon. Who else? Some pretty tough players on his offense. I think Lane matches what Trev would be looking for. Yes, sir. And money does talk. That's a fact. Is that extra $2.5 million a year that big a deal? Yeah, it is. And all these coaches are looking, or it might not even be just that $2.5 million a year for him. It might be he's getting $2.5 million more a year, but he's also getting $250,000 more for each assistant coach, which means he can now go and get better assistant coaches. It also means that the recruiting budget goes up. It also means that he gets more private jet flight hours, so he's able to recruit better. Think about Lincoln Riley. He had it made at Oklahoma. The extra money he got went to building him getting him a mansion. It went to him having a private driver so he doesn't have to drive through all this LA traffic 45 minutes to work every single day. It went to his recruiting budget going through the roof. It went to unlimited resources. Yes, Oklahoma could give him that. They didn't. USC did. Nebraska could give him that. Nebraska, I think, would give someone that if they knew they were the right guy. That $2.5 million as a head coach is kind of the benchmark. It does not mean this is the money you're getting. It means here's the entry point for you, but we're also going to give you this whole entire package. It adds up to be an additional $10 million for you. Do you want it? Yeah, because to win, I can't do it all on my own. I need all the best resources around me. I need the best coaches and everything else. The NIL goes through the roof, so recruiting gets easier. Name brand goes through the roof. Recruiting gets easier. Recruiting is what drives these coaches' careers. Yeah, it all matters. Every freaking dollar. Ryshawn, what about Bill O'Brien? Haven't you and I talked about Bill O'Brien in my DMs? You tell me why Bill O'Brien. You sell me on Bill O'Brien. Because here's the deal, guys. I'm done on Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is officially X'd out. Bill O'Brien's nickname for me is Mike Riley. If you guys want Bill O'Brien, sell him to me. I don't give a shit about Bill O'Brien. I'm done hearing his name, Ryshawn. No offense to you. But you tell me why. Why? Why is that even a name that pops into your head? It shouldn't be. Tell me why it is. Is it because the media is trying to feed it to you? Is it because the mediocre Nebraska fans who are settling for 6-win seasons are telling you he's an acceptable choice just because he came from Alabama, just because he was an NFL GM, and just because he was at Penn State for, what, a year and a half? Ryshawn, don't let them manipulate you. We don't settle for mediocrity over here. Tell me why. Tell me why. Riley says, I'm not selling him if he can't sell himself. That's what I like to hear. He can't sell himself. If he would have sold himself, we would have had a bunch of reasons why we want him. No one can tell me why we want him. Everyone says, oh, what about him? I don't know who Lane would bring. I don't know who Lane would fire. Lane would get a lot more money, so Lane would be able to do some more things. I'm not sure what his thoughts are on his current OC. I do know they're running the ball a lot more than they ever have. They're running the ball a lot more than they did last year. They also have a lot more running backs than they had before. They went and got Zach Evans out of the transfer portal, who's a former 5-star running back who went to TCU. So maybe he likes this new OC and he likes this new style. Maybe that guy would fit at a school like Nebraska, but I don't know the answers. It's going to be interesting, though, to see whatever coach does get hired, or Mickey, to see what assistant hires they make, because those are just as important as the head coach role. Keep it in mind. Ryan says, plus we got that new facility. Keep that in mind, too. That new facility, $180 million, didn't get built for nothing. That thing is crazy. It's a different lifestyle being the head coach at Nebraska than it is being the head coach at Kentucky. Being the head coach at Nebraska means you're talked about every single day, whether you win or lose. Being the head coach at Nebraska means you have all the resources like we talked about. You have all the fans. You never have to worry about people filling the stadium. You don't have to market for your football team. The team or the fans are marketing for you. Lane Kiffin is on Instagram and Twitter and doing all his BS, trying to get people to show up. He doesn't like that. It pisses him off. A big-time head coach is like, screw this. I want to walk in the doors where I am king, where my team is everything. You don't get that at Kentucky and Ole Miss. You don't sell out every game. People don't show up to see Georgia Southern play Ole Miss. People show up to see Georgia Southern play Nebraska. Just something to think about. What about Prime? Yeah, we like Prime. Prime doesn't have the resume. Prime doesn't have the experience. Prime is a big job away and proving himself before he can come to a school like Nebraska, in my opinion. Would I be mad at the Prime hire? I would laugh a bit. I would think it's a bit of a joke. It would never happen. But if it did, I'd say at least football is going to be fun again. Honestly, I would say it's going to be fun again. Because it would be. Ryan, I've been off for the whole week. I haven't talked on camera for a whole week, so I had to get back and fire you guys up, get you excited. It's just me. I'm amped all the time. I don't know what it is. I'm passionate about this stuff we're talking about. That helps. Lane says, I would go for Prime, but that lack of experience at that level is concerning. No question he could recruit, though. Okay, Prime, Mickey, Lane, any of that combo, like Lane and Mickey or Prime and Mickey, would be unbelievable for recruiting. Blast off for recruiting. We would land a 5-star soon. We can only dream. Who knows where this thing's going, but it would be amazing. Someone said Matt Entz would be a good choice. Is Matt Entz the head coach at Tulane, who is 6-1 and ranked number 25 in the country? Is that who Matt Entz is? I need confirmation before I can elaborate. I assume you're talking about Prime. He could bring more 5-stars in year 1 than we've had in 15 years. In 15 years, we've had 0. So, yes, he absolutely could. Oh, Matt Entz is NDSU's head coach. Man, I don't know how long he's been there. It feels like that's a factory. So if he hasn't been there for 20 years, then he's just a system coach. Paul Christ was a system coach. Not taking anything away from him. I'm saying that's the fear. He could be a guy who's been there temporarily and just plugged in, did his thing, and made the machine run, right? I'm afraid of coaches like that. I want a guy who struggled. I want a guy who knows what it's like to take dirt and turn it into something beautiful. Lane Kiffin did that at FAU. Lane Kiffin did that at Ole Miss. I'm trying to think who else did. Mark Stoops has done it. It took him a long time, but he's done it at Kentucky. I want a guy who's built something out of nothing. Is that fair to ask? And I'll tell you why I want that so bad. Because as beautiful and glorious as Nebraska is behind the scenes and to Nebraska fans, the front of it is like a haunted house. It's broken down. The picket fence is cracked and broken. The kids have egged it. There's bats flying around it. It's dark outside. It's disgusting and dreary, and no one wants to come near it. On the back end, though, it's clean and it's pristine and it's Versailles. But on the front, it's disgusting. So I want a guy who can take a broken down, ugly, haunted house and fix it up and make it look like Versailles again. Can Matt Entz do that? Did Matt Entz take North Dakota State, who was 0-12, to the promised land? I don't know. Maybe he did. You guys can let me know. I don't know. Noah says, I want Connor for the head coach. Okay, well, I can't be the head coach, but I will tell you what. I could be a motivator in some way. That's what they should hire me for. Nebraska should hire me to help with social media and recruiting. Could you imagine? I would have that shit on fire. I would have all of the media members on YouTube doing creative stuff with players and coaches and making Nebraska football fun online again. I would have Nebraska football as like its own streaming service, kind of like the Longhorn Network, but all across social media. And it'd always be cool. Trick shot shit in the off season, like all the recruits coming and doing 7-on-7 tourneys in Memorial Stadium and having the other players there cheering them on, like just cool stuff that you could film for TikTok. I could do something at Nebraska to boost them up. They would never hire me, but they should. I'll tell you that. I'd get QB Plug. I talked to QB Plug. If you guys have seen him, he has 1 million on TikTok. He has 100,000+ on Instagram and 200,000+ on YouTube. He and I talked for an hour and like a half the other day. He's got some great ideas for the future of college football. And we talked about how the future is on social media and how that's obviously going to tie into recruiting so much, and how the two coaches who have the edge are Deion Sanders and our man Lane. And wherever they go, they're forever going to have a hold on recruiting because they understand social media. They understand how to talk to these players, and there's just so much value in it. And the moment a big-time school hires one of them and gives them a chance, they're going to turn things around. It's going to take a while for Nebraska to catch up, I think, but hopefully they figure it out. Just a thought. Travis says, my 13-year-old daughter just subscribed, trying to bring her up right. It's funny because daughter, it's hard for me to find female Nebraska fans. My sister can't get into it. Girls I've talked to struggle to get them into it. So the fact that you got your daughter and you're pushing her probably means you don't got a son. That's going to be my guess. 13 years old, though, it's a good start. I think I was probably 12 or 13, no, probably 10 when I started to really get into Nebraska football. That's when I really started to understand it, around 4th grade. So, good age to start. I'm proud of you, Travis, for trying to make sure the youth of the future turns into the next generation of Nebraska fans. We appreciate your work. Jennifer says she's a female Nebraska fan. Jennifer, there's few females. Wait, how would you say that? They're few and far between. That's all I know. Thank you, Jennifer, for being here. My, what is it? 4% of my, I think 4% of my audience is female. So that tells you how many Nebraska female fans there are. Diehards, at least. Travis says she's big into volleyball. Well, this is the right school to have her follow then, because I know Nebraska's got a good volleyball team. Daniel says, got to get the next generation on board. You know what's crazy? Teams keep making their stadiums smaller. USC dropped their capacity from 90,000 to 70-something thousand. They're shrinking it. And it's because people aren't going to as many games. And I'm not sure what the future holds for football. Like, you know, golf obviously took a big dip. It came back up after COVID. But for football, will less people will less people keep watching? And will they shift their focus to gaming, like streaming, Twitch people, Fortnite and Call of Duty? I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, I hope young people keep watching football. I hope football lasts forever. But then again, I won't be here forever, so what do I care? I just want Nebraska's tradition to live on, I guess. Tyler says, if Mickey becomes the head coach, which staff members do you think stay and which ones will he let go? The only one I could see him keeping for sure is Bill Bush. The other that he may keep would be a Becton, the tight end coach. Maybe a Fisher, the DB coach. But I think the whole defensive staff would be gone, in my personal opinion. He'd let go everybody except for Bush and maybe Becton. Just a thought. You didn't hear it here first because I'm sure other people have said it. Sure, I've seen things like that on Twitter. But, yeah. There's nobody who's impressed me on this staff outside of Bush and Mickey, really. Becton's good, but is he good enough to say let's not reset? I'd rather you reset with an OC who brings in his own guys, reset with a DC who brings in his own guys, right? It's just the thinking. Candy, I'm a female fan since I was a young girl, GBR. Thanks for being here, Candy. Guys, I think this is the first 2 females I've ever seen in our live stream ever. That is crazy. I actually didn't know we had very many female Corn Crazed fans. I know there are some, though, because I will say, women buy merch. And usually women buy my merch for them and for their boyfriend or for their husband. So I'll get an order that's like a small and then an order that's like a double XL, and then I'll realize, it's a couple merch. I like that. Oh, I forgot about Applewhite, guys. I forgot about Applewhite. I wasn't even thinking. Applewhite over Becton. Applewhite's been good. Applewhite's absolutely in there. I just completely, his name slipped my mind. Sorry. Who's Riley? Need to upgrade the strength staff, in my opinion. Getting bullied in the trenches for too long. Yeah, that I think is inevitable. The strength staff will probably get swapped out. The new head coach or Mickey will make a decision to find someone who can get them the way they want them. Mickey has a lot of ties from LSU. Maybe he finds someone from there. He knows what it's going to take. I'm putting my faith in him. I'm not sure who the hot strength and conditioning coaches are. I'm sure that's just kind of an insider secret. But yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough with the strength and conditioning. There we go. Jennifer says she bought a hoodie. Thank you for the support. We appreciate you. And Scott says he is a fan of women. I'm glad to hear that, Scott. I am too. I'm glad that we're all on the same page. We're all fans of women here. Need a D-line coach. Need an O-line coach. It would be interesting if they brought in an OC who had, or even a head coach who had offensive line experience. That's why I really like that Syracuse OC, former offensive line coach, Robert Anae. That's why I like Matt Campbell, former offensive line coach. He's got his flaws, though, like losing games by 1 score every time. Not sold on him. But the point is, yeah, it's got to be a coach who has some experience. Like maybe the offensive coordinator or like a strong position coach who has years. I don't know. Who's the coach at Ohio State? Larry Johnson, a coach like that who's got, you couldn't get him, but years of elite defensive line experience. Not like a guy who came from UCF and did well enough at UCF to get brought over, but doesn't have a proven track record of success. No, I want a coach who's put a bunch of guys in the NFL. We can dream. We got the money to bring them. Hopefully they do. Ha, that's funny. Ryan says, let's hire Sean Oakman, former Baylor linebacker. If you guys remember, Sean Oakman was the guy who was flexing. He's jacked as can be. And yeah, he was a beast. Bring him in as the strength and conditioning guy. I'm sure they'd win. And he says, I've been a subscriber for at least a year now. I watch all your lives and your videos too. Thank you, Candy. We appreciate you. I put a lot of content out, so that's a lot of videos you've watched. That's hours of videos you've watched. Good question, JJ. Would you rather have a great recruiting coach who can't develop players? I hate this. Or an average recruiter who is great at developing players? You can only choose one. I would prefer the latter. average recruiter, great at developing players. We've seen a lot of schools with 3-star players. Baylor recently, Kentucky recently, Ole Miss recently, just to name a few. Kansas recently, to name another. Kansas State, to name another. I can go on. They develop their players really well. It has to be the latter. A great recruiting coach who can't develop his players is what we had before. Scott Frost had a lot of 4-stars come through here and a lot of 4-stars who left as not very good players. I don't want the same. And the former of what your question is the same. The latter is what we're searching for. Hope that makes sense. Developer for sure. We're on the same page, guys. We all know. Ethan says trivia next week. We could do trivia next week. That's an option. We could do that. Trivia's cool because I get to engage with you guys and talk to you guys on the Discord call. So if you guys want trivia next week, let me know in the chat. If more than one person's interested in it, we can do trivia next week, like next Thursday or something. Will you start uploading on your other channel? So here is this issue I've been facing. Do I go all in on sports content on my own? Do I join a network? Do I start a podcast? Like, do I go to a place like Barstool and have my own show there, right? I've proven a lot with this channel, and I've gotten a lot of opportunities. A lot of different people have reached out to me. And if I wanted to, I think I could create a new show and take it to a network, a big network that has a bunch of followers that could drive a bunch of new traffic my way. And in that circumstance, I would have Crazed as one, and I would have another sports show on another network. And I'd be a host, and I'd do my own thing. It's been in my head, and I'm really trying to wait until the end of the season to let things clear. I'm trying to make kind of a career transition from doing what I've been doing for the last 5 years as a digital media consultant and helping people on the back end and building their channels and building their brands to becoming a face and becoming an entertainer. Yeah, I'm not sure what my plan is yet. I'm really just focusing it on Crazed. I'm making Crazed as great as it can be. And then once we get to the end of the season, I'll figure it out. That's my thought. I don't know. I'm at a weird spot in my life. It's interesting. I'm learning a lot about content and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I really like having this community. I love having this community, and I love being able to talk to you guys all the time and create content. This is the most fun that I've ever had working, ever. I mean, I've had some pretty cool things I've done, but this is one of the most fun things I've ever done working. And I think I'm good at it. Like, I think it fits with one of my gifts. I think it's really important you follow like one of the things you're gifted with when you're born, right? There's certain things that people are good at. Some people are good at dancing, some people are good at singing, or some people are good at typing on a computer, or some people are good at sales, whatever it is. Some people are good at arguing, so they become lawyers. Some people are really smart and like to study, so they end up becoming philosophers or teachers or whatever. I really enjoy talking and doing research and entertaining you guys and bringing up crazy points and just BSing, you know? So yeah, that's my thought. Ryan says, call it Connor's Cobcast podcast. You know, I'm not into corny names. Corn Crazed was one I had to roll with. It's a little corny, but if I did something to be a lot more, I'd figure out a cool name for it. Should we bet on Whipple returning? No. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I have to guess he's in the lead because he's been pretty sick from what we've heard. Dewey, what do you want? Potential coach tier list. Do you want a coach tier list on potentials for Nebraska? Coach tier list on active head coaches? And I just bang out like all the Power 5 head coaches and just tier them all out? You let me know. Because I'll do it. If you want it, I'll do it. Caden says, what's it going to take for Nebraska to get back to the championships? It's going to take a coach who can get them there. Simple as that. Foo lame. I did a bunch of the picks earlier. One of the games I'm watching is Ole Miss LSU. One of them I'm watching is Kansas Baylor. One of them I'm watching is Kansas State TCU. Those are my 3 biggest ones right now that I'm really interested in. Slate Phoenix says he's interested in trivia. Guys, I'll probably do trivia next week. We'll figure it out. I think you guys enjoy trivia. It was fun for me too. Syracuse versus Clemson will be a good one to watch, I think. Hopefully the Orange can keep up with them. I honestly think Clemson's going to blow them out. I just, ugh. Syracuse, I want them to be good and I want them to compete, but Clemson pisses me off because they were so bad last year and they just felt like they were going to be mid this year, but now they're good and it's like, ugh, they're good again. And I don't want these traditional powers to be good. I want them to struggle. But yeah, Clemson's probably going to blow them out. Riley says you're definitely an entertainer. Thanks, Riley. I just try to act like myself, you know? He says Connor gets his own show and Denon takes over Corn Crazed. Denon is plotting. That's hilarious. Denon doesn't want to be what I am, though. Denon likes to do the trivia stuff and the fun hangout. Denon's not into the advanced analytics and the serious thought behind Nebraska football because it's a lot of effort, and I don't think he's as into that as I am. He likes the fun parts and talking with people. He's really good at community and talking to people and watching games together. I think that's more his thing. So Corn Crazed would definitely shift if I left, but I'm not leaving Corn Crazed. The only way I would leave Corn Crazed or Corn Crazed would end is if I couldn't afford to do the show anymore. It could come to that point, but I'm hoping it doesn't. We've been doing a lot, right? The super chats have really helped. The views have been going up. That's really helped. We got a sponsor. That really helped. So there's money coming in, so it's making it so I can afford to run the channel, which has been fantastic. B-Bean says, is this a 100% Nebraska Cornhusker channel? Yes, sir. This is a 100% Nebraska football channel, specifically. Nothing else. No volleyball, no basketball, no other Big Ten teams. I mean, we talk about all the other Big Ten teams by default. We talk about the Big Ten West. We talk about a lot of stuff, but the focus is 100% Nebraska football. No, there's no going around that. I love talking about other stuff, though. It's just my audience that I've built, all of you guys are huge Nebraska fans, and that's just what we are. Dewey says a tier list for Nebraska's possible coaches. I could do that. I could rank them, do a tier list, something like that. We'll do it. Yes, sir, I'll do it. Confirmed. That's hot. That'd be crazy. Lane Kiffin is head coach. Will Muschamp is DC. Garrett Riley is OC. Garrett Riley's at where? ECU? And then Mickey is wide receivers coach. I'd like it. And to whoever asked earlier how Nebraska gets back to championships, Jen Redpod says, line of scrimmage domination. End of story. Without it, you can't win at an elite level. Not arguing it. Haslajin says, the fact that Tennessee might get to the playoff this year makes me so happy. This is in reference to me saying that I'm tired of the dominance by teams like Clemson. We're finally seeing something different. It feels good to see something different. It feels good to see Tennessee fans have fun and rush the field. I want that for us. It will happen for us. It's just, I might be like 37 by the time it does, but I don't care. I'm waiting. I'm patient. Daniel says, I got your bet for the UCLA-Oregon game. May the best bet win. So guys, if you weren't here earlier, Bro Throws the official sponsor for the channel. You can live in any state. You can be on any payment platform as long as it's like Cash App, PayPal, Skrill, Venmo. You can use any of them. You got to, because that's how you pay your bets. You don't have to link a bank account. You can bet people who are in our group. So Daniel bet me on individual games, football, basketball, baseball, whatever. So it's a sports betting platform that pairs you with people from around the country, and you get to bet with them. So anyway, he took my bet on that. So yesterday it's me with UCLA +6, him with Oregon -6, which is so sick that I'm getting to bet with my subscribers. It's so dope. Scott says, more fun listening to my boy Connor than Damon and Benning commenting Husker games. No offense, Damon. Just think Connor would bring more energy on the mic. Guys, if I called a Nebraska game, you already know. You know what the fucking deal is. I would be lit, especially if Nebraska was winning. I would be like, what's his name? Dude, why am I blanking? Gus Johnson. I would have nicknames for all the players. Oh, I would go in. I'm just thinking about Mick or Mac. I don't remember how to say your name. Mac. How do we break Grant, Ramir, or Yant? What does that mean? How do we break them? I don't understand the question. Dude, that was the best one. Hurt My Feelings was pretty good. I like Hollywood when Hollywood Brown streaked down the sideline and caught a pass from Baker Mayfield for a TD. That was amazing. There are some all-time Gus calls. I actually found an Instagram page and I actually had a YouTube video where they compiled all the best Gus Johnson calls. I was dreaming for like a nice Adrian Martinez one where it was like, oh, Adrian broke off for 80 yards or something. But we never got one because Adrian never had that moment. Never had Gus call a game that was that big and had him in that position. But man, that would have been incredible. I love Gus Johnson. What are the chances in this new era of football, NIL, big TV deal, etc., that Nebraska is going to up the coach pay and kick it to 12 million for a big name? Right now, I would say the chances are low. They need to get a coach who qualifies to make that much money, and I'm not sure that any of the coaches they're going after deserve that much. Lane Kiffin would demand 10, 9, and I think you could pay him 9 or 10. Would he need 12? No. If you could get Lane Kiffin, or not Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban to come, you would have to pay him 12 to 15, right? But none of the coaches right now that Nebraska would be opting for or would be options or an option for, like an Urban Meyer would be he wouldn't have Nebraska as an option, but if he was, he would demand, 10, 12 maybe. Yeah, I just don't think 12 is realistic for any of the coaches we're talking about. That's kind of the point. Matthew says Iowa's offense has zero dimensions. Yeah, their offense sucks, even their run game. It feels so good to know that Nebraska has a chance against Iowa this year. I just hope we stay healthy enough. As long as Nebraska has the team they have right now, they are beating Iowa. That would be fantastic. Lane says, have you ever considered live streaming during the game? Is it possible? I think it would be fun to hear your insight live. Yeah, there's a lot of people who've asked for this. The only problem is I like to focus on the game and know what's going on. I take a lot of notes. It'd be hard. It would be more of an entertaining thing, and I wouldn't be able to lock in and do as good of analysis on Nebraska throughout the year because I wouldn't be paying as much attention as I needed to. So I think it's better for us as a channel for me to focus on the game and then go live after. But if I did live stream during a game, I think it'd be really fun. The way I would do it, by the way, I would have this set up. I wouldn't be able to show the game on screen. So I'd have a screen right here where I watched it and then I'd talk to you guys while I watched it. But just not something I think we should do. I think we should focus on me being an expert at Nebraska football, which means me locking in and watching what the hell's going on. What I mean with Iowa is that they have strong lines and yet they struggle. Yeah, Iowa has a strong offensive and defensive line, but they have nothing else going for them. That's the problem. No good quarterback, no good running back, no good anything. It's all a mess. Gen Red Pod says your content is good enough to release the audio as a podcast. The only thing is most of my content is visual content. So it wouldn't make sense as much for me to release a 15-minute clip as a podcast without the visual component, and 15 minutes is so short. I just think I'd rather leave it on YouTube for now, and then if I was going to go podcast, I'd exclusively build it out and cut it for a podcast. So I think I'm going to wait. People have asked, though, for a podcast. I'm just waiting to do what makes sense, make sure I use my time the right way. You guys remember, I do all of this on my own. Minus the live stream on Thursdays, I use Denon as a co-host and as my engineer. But everything else, I run my social media on my own. I do my research, my notes on my own. If you go watch shows like Pat McAfee, Josh Pate, all of these other ones, they have massive budgets. They have teams. They have producers, guys who mess with their audio. They have editors. I have none of that. I edit my own content, film my own content, light my own content, write my own content. I mean, I do literally everything, so it's hard, but we're figuring it out. We're going to keep growing. My brand is just warming up. I promise you, you're going to get more content from me. What's Draft Network? I'm going to take a note and I'm going to look it up after. Hang on. Draft Network. I'm taking your note, Ryan. I'll look it up after. He put the biscuit in the basket is a top 3 Gus call when we scored first against OU this year, the Trey Palmer score. Yeah, Gus is awesome. Gus has some really good ones. Bradley says you can always watch the game more closely on replay. I could, but I'm telling you, there's just something about watching it that first time. I just love it too much. I mean, I built this channel because I love watching the Nebraska games, right? So I like watching them alone. It'd be really hard. It'd be really hard for me to focus on 2 things at once. Manage this stream, manage the chat, watch the game. It's a little tough. Maybe I could do it one time for like a weaker game. We could try it out. Maybe I'll do it like next year against a non-Power 5 team, something like that. Maybe. Jennifer says Iowa has shirts that say I'm here for the punter. That is hilarious. And Gary says he enjoys the post-game reactions. I enjoy those too. It's really fun to get the gauge on the subs and everybody, all the fans, to see what you guys think of the game and how you felt about it. And I like to go in and tell you my thoughts. I give you guys the raw, unfiltered moments after. Usually I'm pretty lit. I'm pretty excited after a game because when I watch a Nebraska football game, my heart is like for 2.5 hours straight. So I get off the game, I sit down for like 15 minutes, the heart slows down so it gets to this, and I come on here and I stream, and then it goes again because I'm turned. So yeah. Maggie says from early on, she's a Corn Crazed channel fan. I've loved seeing the evolution of your content and your merch. Can't wait to be a part of the future for this channel. Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate all you guys. You guys have been here for a long time. Most of you, I've seen your names for the last 6 months to a year. It's crazy. I really started getting content going last season, so I'm glad you guys are here. Jen Redpod says they do both. Live stream their show and release the audio as a podcast. We're not as visual as you are, which is why we have less than 100 subs on YouTube. Hey, it's hard to grow YouTube. I'll give you a piece of advice about YouTube. A lot of people always ask me because they all want to start Nebraska channels or whatever. I think the number one thing is to be creative in your content. Do things that other people want to see. So a lot of Corn Crazed fans want to see, or a lot of Nebraska fans, sorry, because this is before Corn Crazed. A lot of Nebraska fans wanted to see off topics that no one was talking about. So one of my first videos I made was why Luke McCaffrey will beat out Adrian Martinez as the starting QB. That got like 13,000 views, and I had 25 subscribers. I shot up after that. I did who is Nebraska's biggest rival. You do video content that other people aren't making, and as long as it's high quality, as long as it's well thought out, that's the other thing. You got to do well thought out content. Then people will watch it. Just a piece of advice. I know you didn't ask for it, but I like to give it. Dewey, Malachi Coleman commits tomorrow. Will you be watching? No, I will not, because I know he's coming to Nebraska. I mean, maybe I'll see a clip on Instagram after, but it's not like I'm going to be waiting for it. I already know the answer. He's coming. Am I on Husker Board? No. What is Husker Board? I have not heard of that. Matthew says Halloween is coming up. How many years have you gone as Stone Cold Steve Austin? And do you do an impression? I didn't know who Stone Cold Steve Austin was until like 2 weeks ago when someone in the chat said his name and I Googled him. I figured out I look like him because I'm bald and I have this facial hair right here. But I'm not as jacked. And I don't know what he sounds like, so I don't do an impression, no. I usually for Halloween go as a cholo. So that's been a thing for the last like 3 years. My friends and I are all cholos. Asla Jin says he's still feeling the loss to Purdue. It's worn off for me. It's just, is what it is. At this point, it sucks, but the offensive line was so rough. I mean, what are you going to do? We had 4 sacks in the first half. It's every loss now feels like, it is what it is because we have no offensive line. I can't blame anybody else. We've got so much production everywhere else. The defense obviously had their issues as well, but we're not going to get these things fixed. This season's been a bit of a wash, and the fact that they're still fighting for a bowl game is enough to make me happy. I'm just going to leave it there. It is what it is. Ethan says, are you going live tomorrow even though there's no game? If you guys want me to go live, we could do a post Saturday recap, like of all the games and talk about games tomorrow. Hell yeah. If you want it, I'll do it. Of course. I'm doing what you guys want. I'm here for you. Matthew says you heard from Pitt fans that Whipple didn't run it enough. But look at their star wide receiver. This year, Nebraska has the top ranked wide receiver in the country. You got to feed a player like Palmer. And yeah, I think that's true. I think Whipple has tried to run it at Nebraska. Unfortunately, Nebraska didn't have the tools to run it. They didn't have the front line to pave the way, and that's why he hasn't been able to run that well. When they have ran against weaker opponents, they were effective early on with Anthony Grant and A.J. Allen. But if Trey's the guy and he's the one who can win you games, feed who can make it see a win. Does Matt Mellon claim he knows everything? I don't understand the joke. You gotta tell me. Do you watch Mark Rogers? I've seen it. I went on his show a couple weeks ago. I don't know where the content is because he didn't put like Corn Crazed in the title, so it's somewhere on his channel, but I'm not sure what you'd search for to find it. Josh says, you're the best. Thank you, Josh. You talk a lot about coaching. Do you think Trev gives the reins to Mickey if he wins both Illinois and Minnesota? I think he would give him the reins if he beat Illinois, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. I think there'd be a really good chance. I still think it's a long shot, but I think there's a good chance. He'd have to beat Wisconsin, though, to cap it all off. I don't think you could beat Illinois, Minnesota, lose to Michigan, and lose to Wisconsin. I don't think that's an option. We'll have to see. And Jen Redpod, if you want more advice about YouTube, you can always hit me up. I think it's really important that people do a lot of research for their content, and a lot of people who talk about Nebraska football don't do that much research. So when you watch a Nebraska video, there are a lot of people who release hour-long pieces, and it's a lot of fluff, and it gets boring. The way I grew was I punched people in the face with 15-minute content that was action-packed, and you left there feeling like, wow, that was a valuable 15 minutes. That guy didn't bullshit me. He didn't give me some information I didn't care about. I haven't heard your content. I don't know what it is. But if this does pertain to you, try and action pack your content to be less fluff and more delivering what you say you're going to talk about in your title. Another piece of advice. Nicholas says, bro, you don't know Stone Cold, unsub. I found out who Stone Cold was now. I know who he is now. That's the important part. I learned. I was never a wrestling guy, so how was I supposed to know? Benjamin says he's been here since 4K subs. I think I had 4K subs last year around the OU game. So you've been here for over a year. Appreciate you. We debunked this. The chat debunked this. The chat went on, the chat and I went on Twitter, and I was wrong because I saw a Twitter account that said that he was fired, and we figured out it was false. Nicholas says Matt Millen would be the head coach at Old Country Buffet. That's pretty damn funny. So it sounds like you guys want the live stream tomorrow night, so we can do that. And you've been here since 5 or 6K. See, we've had some people here for a long time, at least a year. We appreciate all the support. Noah says, I don't think Mickey is the first pick unless he gets us to a bowl game. They're going to have to make the decision before Iowa because they'll have to finalize who the head coach is going to be. So it's not going to be the bowl game. It's going to be how well did he perform up to Iowa week, and then they'll make a decision based off that, my opinion. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Guys, it's already 6:38. We've been here for 2 hours and 12 minutes. I appreciate everybody here. Fox has been here since 500 subs. Appreciate the hell out of you. Anyway, guys, I think I'll be back tomorrow night after the games. And after that, we'll just talk about what happened. So I just like to BS with you, talk about football, because you guys are the best ones to talk about football with. You guys are the most knowledgeable of my friends, even though I don't know you in person. And yeah, I have a good time being here. That's why we've been here for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Anyway, enjoy college football tomorrow. If you want to get picks in, if you want to make some bets, go to brothrow.com/GBR. You can sign up there from any state. That's our sponsor for this show. They drive everything we're doing, which is fantastic. They're awesome, and I make a lot of picks there, so you'll be able to see what my bets are for the day. You can bet $1 on games, $5, whatever you want. But with all of that, I'll be back with a regular video, I think on Sunday, back to our normal content, our Illinois preview on, call it Tuesday. We're back in action, baby. I will see you guys soon. Thanks for being here. Peace.